All right. I think that we may be live on Facebook, although we're going to allow a moment for people to get connected and find our stream. I want to welcome everybody who's joining us for this special episode of Wright Virtual Visits. We are marking the second anniversary of the inscription of the 20th century architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. My name is Eric Rogers. I'm the manager of events and communications for the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy, and one of the co-organizers of the Wright Virtual Visits project. And it's my pleasure to welcome a great panel that's gonna have some discussion in conjunction with the presentation that we'll have here for Wright Virtual Visits. Before we dive in, we've got a great video that we're going to show that highlights a number of the sites that are part of the inscription. Before we dive in, I want to introduce everyone who's on live with me today. I'll actually call on them to introduce themselves, and I'm just going to go around the screen. I'm going to start with Hannah.
Oh, hi. My name's Hannah Shaw. I'm the administrative coordinator here at Hollyhock House, located in Los Angeles, and I'm really excited to be here helping to celebrate the UNESCO inscription.
Great. Stuart.
I'm Stuart Graff, and I'm the president and CEO at the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation. And today I'll be talking with you about one of our two properties, Taliesin West.
And Heidi.
Hi, I'm Heidi Ruley, Executive Director for the Unity Temple Restoration Foundation, and also one of the co-leaders of the World Wright Virtual Visits. And obviously, I'll be talking about Unity Temple today.
Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie Rademacher, Executive Director at Taliesin Preservation, and I'll be joining today to talk about Taliesin in Spring Green, Wisconsin.
And Justin.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining to celebrate our inscription. I'm Justin Gunther, the director here at Falling Water in Mill Run, Pennsylvania, which is nestled out in the mountains about an hour from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Well, wonderful. Thank you all for working your schedules to be here. We don't usually have to wrangle this many people for an episode of Wright Virtual Visits, but this was a really, special thing that we wanted to celebrate and have an opportunity to talk about. We know, people might have questions. It's kind of an interesting concept, the World Heritage Listing, and the way that these sites have been incorporated into it. So a couple of brief housekeeping notes before we really dive in. We encourage you to ask questions, and the best way to do that at any time during the program is to actually put a comment on the video on Facebook. We're going to be monitoring those, and we'll have some time for questions after our video presentation. So drop those in anytime, and we'll get to them, as many of them as we can, when we're done with this video. So all of the sites produced, well, most of the sites that are part of the inscription produced some short videos that help kind of explain, why they are significant and why they've been included in this inscription. So we'd like to just roll that video and let you all see these beautiful spaces and learn a little bit about the concept of outstanding universal value, which I imagine we'll have some questions about at the end. So we're going to go ahead and get that going here for you in just a moment. Bear with me while I start sharing it.
My name is Barbara Gordon, Executive Director of the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy, which organized the nomination of the 20th century architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright with these 8 sites and the guidance and assistance of the National Park Service. Outstanding universal value is the central idea underlying the World Heritage Listing. The buildings in this nomination were selected to provide the best expression of specific aspects of the unique architectural vision that contributed significantly to global modern architecture. The buildings reflect the organic architecture developed by Wright, characteristics of which include an open plan, a blurring of the boundaries between exterior and interior, and the novel use of materials such as steel and concrete. Wright's work from this period had a strong impact on the development of modern architecture internationally and has inspired many other architects through today.
Hi, I'm Heidi Bruley, Executive Director of the Unity Temple Restoration Foundation, located in Oak Park, Illinois. We are overwhelmingly honored that Unity Temple is part of the 20th century architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright UNESCO World Heritage Site. I'm excited to show you some of the architectural design details that define Unity Temple's outstanding universal value to the World Heritage inscription. Unity Temple is the primary illustration in the series of the use of dynamic forms that employ innovative use of materials. It unites aesthetic intent and structure through the early use of a single material, reinforced concrete. Unity Temple was one of the first, if not the first, monumental public edifices using concrete, which was previously reserved for more utilitarian buildings. The intrinsic quality of the material is frankly expressed, its austere surface tempered by exposing the finer pebble aggregate. Unity Temple is one of the first truly modern buildings in its abstract cubic form and progression of spaces. The richness of experience is created through contrast and carefully composed paths of movement. Paths of circulation from the exterior into the lobby, then to the sanctuary, are not only circuitous, but also filled with contrasting experiences of compression and expansion, as well as light and dark over multiple levels, surprising the viewer with its visual and emotional intensity. Its exterior cubic form is reinforced on the interior by thin oak strips that weave together cubic volumes, piers, balconies, and ceiling through continuous and dynamic patterns, while amber art glass skylights wash the interior. The sanctuary, in particular, is notable for its spatial complexity and integration of parts. The nature of the concrete material and the qualities it expresses is an early example of béton brut, a French term which means raw concrete, describing concrete that is left unfinished after being cast, and, in Unity Temple's case, displaying the original wavy patterns imprinted by the poured-in-place formwork. Unity Temple's radical cubic appearance expresses both its monolithic construction and interior functions. The sanctuary at one end, the social room at the other, with a foyer connecting the two. The individual's experience navigating the space is central to the design. Unity Temple has required several repair campaigns to address deterioration of the original materials, particularly from water infiltration of the concrete slabs. With the recent completion of a comprehensive restoration program, the physical integrity of Unity Temple is strong. Unity Temple is still used for its original intent as a house of worship and community engagement, and the Unity Temple Restoration Foundation is committed to its mission of restoring and preserving the site while educating the public about Wright's contribution to modern architecture. We hope that with its inclusion as a World Heritage Site, Unity Temple will continue to broaden its audience worldwide and remain a source of inspiration for visitors for many generations to come.
Taliesin is the home, studio, farm, and 800-acre estate of Frank Lloyd Wright. For over 100 years, Taliesin has inspired hundreds of thousands of individuals with its beauty, approach to living, and infinite relevance. Wright came back to Spring Green to build his house in 1911. The house is set down from the top or crown of the hill and creates a brow. The word Taliesin is Welsh and means shining or radiant brow. He actively worked on and experimented with ideas in his own home, and then used those techniques in clients' homes. The surrounding driftless hills and valleys have served as a laboratory for living. A laboratory where culture, architecture, agriculture, and the natural environment converge around a desire to explore everyday life. Taliesin was destroyed twice by fires, but Wright showed remarkable resilience and rebuilt each time. It was designed with natural and local materials in mind. Local limestone, sand from the Wisconsin River, oak harvested from the estate, and more. The views surrounding the home dominate the experience of the house. Wright was constantly connecting the outside with the inside. All of the rooms are connected through lines of sight and extend into the landscape. Taliesin preservation aims to demonstrate where architecture, nature, agriculture, and culture converge around a sensitivity, integration, belonging, and responsibility to place, and lead visitors to a more beautiful life. The experimental nature of ideas and rebel spirit continues to guide us into the 21st century, a legacy that will always live on and continue to inspire others. You'll find this woven into any shared experience you have at Taliesin, like a micro-apprenticeship, farm dinner, or summer camp. And we hope it inspires you to ask the question, how might we live now?
Hi, I'm Abby Chamberlain-Brock, curator at Hollyhock House, which is celebrating its centennial this year. Completed in 1921, Hollyhock House is Frank Lloyd Wright's first Los Angeles project, and it was commissioned by Aline Barnstall, an oil heiress and passionate supporter of the arts, particularly avant-garde theater. And it was for theater that Barnstall originally approached Wright. However, when she acquired this 36-acre property on Hollywood's eastern edge in 1919, her plans grew. Wright prepared drawings for an ambitious arts complex here, complete with a theater, cinema, shops, and artist studios. Only the main house and 2 guest houses were actually realized, but the commission and Hollyhock House mark an important transition in Wright's work as he moved away from his famed Midwestern prairie style, taking inspiration from other places and cultures fitting for this California project. Hollyhock House is a modern interpretation of indigenous forms from the region, while retaining key features of his earlier work, such as strong horizontal lines and innovative spatial arrangements. The architect embraced the freedom and natural beauty of California. For every interior space at Hollyhock House, there's a corresponding outdoor one. Rooms open out onto picturesque courtyards. Rooftop terraces are important living spaces, and these features become synonymous with California modernism, taken up by Wright proteges like Rudolph Schindler, who first came to Los Angeles to work on Hollyhock House. In designing for the region, Wright looked to pre-Hispanic structures. He evoked rather than imitated Maya architecture with his designs here. The canted upper walls with pronounced eaves resemble those of the Palace of Palenque in southern Mexico. The decorative stonework also relates to the dense patterning of Maya facades that the architect admired. Wright also borrowed from other regional precedents. While he characterized Southern California's colonial revival architecture as tawdry Spanish medievalism, he couldn't resist incorporating a Spanish-style courtyard at the center of Hollyhock House. The integration of livable roof terraces draws on native Pueblo building traditions as well. While Wright may have taken general forms from cultures before, he made the designs for Hollyhock House distinctly his own. Motifs here certainly don't replicate anything seen in the Yucatan. The architect created original designs based on Barnstall's favorite flower, the hollyhock. You can see variations of his abstraction in cast stone, art glass, textiles, and furnishings. According to Frank Lloyd Wright, Miss Barnstall wanted no ordinary home, for she was no ordinary woman. Here, he created a theatrical house, a fitting centerpiece for her planned arts complex. The living room is the most dramatic space, with a show-stopping fireplace and spectacular views of Hollywood. Oversized sofas face the hearth like a stage, where, with striking cast stone, art glass overhead, and a moat, fire, earth, air, and water come together. Set dramatically atop Olive Hill, Hollyhock House is an original adaptation of the local Spanish patio house, combined with ancient Mesoamerican forms. The design resonates with the region's layered cultures in a far more meaningful way than the concurrent Art Deco style, which relied on pastiche. Hollyhock House is a romantic expression of Southern California, giving the idea of regionalism a truly modern form.
For all of us at Falling Water, a property entrusted to the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy since 1963, we are thrilled with the World Heritage Committee's decision to inscribe the 8 Frank Lloyd Wright sites to the World Heritage List. This is a tremendous honor, one that's reserved for the world's most treasured places. Now Falling Water, along with the other Frank Lloyd Wright sites, join a list of irreplaceable landmarks, including the Great Pyramids, the Taj Mahal, and Notre Dame. This inscription also secures the significance of Frank Lloyd Wright to the development of modern architecture and to the history of architecture as a whole. Falling Water, designed in 1935 for the Kaufman family of Pittsburgh as a mountain retreat, is Wright's tour de force. It's his primary expression of what he called organic architecture. Wright drew inspiration directly from nature for every element of Falling Water's design. The colors, the materials, motifs, and the house's dramatic sculptural forms. The result is a place unlike any other that has the power to demonstrate how people can respect and live in harmony with the natural world, an idea which has great relevance to the everyday issues we face in our contemporary lives. Inclusion on the World Heritage List brings increased recognition to our region, the Laurel Highlands, to Pittsburgh, and to the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Our state now has 2 cultural sites on the World Heritage List, which is a great source of pride for all Pennsylvanians. Through these 2 sites, visitors and citizens alike have the opportunity to experience the entire breadth of the American experience, from the birthplace of American democracy at Philadelphia's Independence Hall, to this iconic house over a waterfall in rural Appalachia that helped redefine standards of architecture in modern domestic life.
Hello everyone and welcome to Taliesin West. I'm Fred Prezillo, Vice President of Preservation for the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, and we're celebrating our 2nd year as a World Heritage Site. Today we're reflecting back on what the World Heritage Council calls outstanding universal value. What we like to think of is just great architecture, a wonderful example of Frank Lloyd Wright's organic architecture. Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture is all about its connection with the land. Here at Taliesin West, we came up with a unique building material, what we call desert masonry, to really link Taliesin West to the Sonoran Desert. To really make Taliesin West feel like it just grew right out of the ground, he uses concrete and stone inside of a form to create, kind of a representation of the desert floor. If you look at the vault here behind me, it's really stone and concrete. Just like if you look at the desert floor, how you have stone laying across the sand. Really imagine just tilting up the desert floor and you have the walls of Taliesin West. This was a really excellent way to tie Taliesin West to the Sonoran Desert and to this site specifically. Another great way that Wright incorporates his buildings into the landscape is with the use of geometric forms relating to the land around the building. Here we see, the geometries of the roofs flowing straight up into the mountains, really echoing the slope of the mountains. In the evening, during sunset here, the suns cast beautiful colors, shadows across the rooftops here. And there's a moment right at twilight where the roofs here blend in and almost disappear right into the slope of the mountain. And finally, here in the garden room, we see what really makes Frank Lloyd Wright a master: his ability to create amazing space. Here, he blends the interior and the exterior. There's almost, a seamless connection between being in the room and being in the garden. This is a value, a contribution architecture that is really quite special for Wright, and what really makes his work worthy of being a World Heritage Site. It's truly an honor for us to be one of the 8 Frank Lloyd Wright World Heritage Sites and to be part of the broader Frank Lloyd Wright community.
That was terrific. Thanks to all the sites who put together those videos, and special shout out to Heidi for editing it all together to make it easy to share today. Really appreciate that. I should note, I mentioned at the top of the program that it was a challenge to wrangle everyone for this event. And so there are 2 other sites that are part of the inscription that were not able to be represented today. The Frederick C. Roby House here in Chicago, as well as the Solomon Guggenheim Museum in New York City. But they are a key part of the overall World Heritage listing as well. So I do want to encourage everyone that's watching, if you've got questions, to drop them in the comments. But I've got a couple of questions just to get us started. I think some of us, including myself, are newer to the Wright community and we're not necessarily part of the inscription process. But I'm curious if maybe a couple of you who were part of that process could comment briefly on what it took to get this listing inscribed. I don't know, Stuart or Justin or Carrie, I think you all had front row seats.
I'm happy to jump in here. So this started before I got to the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation. It really was about a 20-year process, working first with the National Park Service to get their support to put this nomination into the queue for World Heritage. The way the process works is the United States puts in one potential designation every year, and we can't put in more. That's a question of both process and resources. And so we had to get in the queue, and then we had to work with a team from the National Park Service, and Steve Morris and Phyllis Ellen, if you're out there, thank you for that, because those two really were the core of the team and provided great continuity. And then we began a process of looking at the group of Frank Lloyd Wright buildings, the entire body of work, narrowing that group down, not into what some people consider to be the greatest hits or the buildings that are most popular, but rather the buildings that demonstrated the influence of Wright's architecture on the global development of modernism throughout the world. Sorry, that was redundant. And so that's a big process. And in 2016, we went through the final stages of the nomination process. We put together an extensive dossier, the printed documents about an inch thick, a few hundred pages. We submitted that to a reviewing panel from the International Commission on Monuments and Sites. And they came back and they said, not surprisingly, this needs more work. We went ahead and sent it to the World Heritage Committee, and a group of us traveled to Istanbul, where the World Heritage Committee debated whether the inscription was ready for inclusion. And what was nice is everybody said, there's no question that Frank Lloyd Wright deserves to be on the World Heritage List, but there are technical aspects of the nomination that you need to go back and work on. And one of those aspects was that two of the buildings that were originally nominated, Price Tower and the Marin County Civic Center, to be included on that list were taken off, not because they're not great buildings, but because we weren't able to show that they influenced the development of modern architecture. A whole group of us went back, started working, and spent the next couple of years reworking this nominating dossier, rewriting. And if you have a chance to read it, and I think it's still up on the Building Conservancy site, if you're interested in a great art history lesson about Frank Lloyd Wright's influence, read this dossier, the work that was done. And the team at Falling Water really took the lead. Linda Wagner and Scott Perkins really took the lead on all of that research and writing. But it is just the best way to learn about why Frank Lloyd Wright is still important and relevant today from an architectural perspective and an art history perspective. We went to Azerbaijan, and with the recommendation this time from ICOMOS, the reviewing panel, to be inscribed. And we had a thrilling day listening to people from around the world, cultural leaders from around the world, speak to how not only important Frank Lloyd Wright's work was to our collective global cultural heritage, just as human beings, but also we also had the chance to have one-on-one meetings, and Justin, you were there. Maybe you want to speak to this, but one-on-one meetings with these representatives who told us how personally Frank Lloyd Wright influenced them. I remember a guy from Burkina Faso coming up to our table and just telling us how he had never been to the United States, but Frank Lloyd Wright's buildings are the image of his dreams, and he looked forward to coming to the United States and seeing these buildings. And wow, talk about a moving, powerful experience.
Well, thanks for giving us that history, Stuart. I knew that it was an extensive process, but I'm still learning all the bits and pieces. And I need to go read that nomination dossier, which is on the Conservancy's website. If you go to savewright.org, on our front page, there's a button that'll take you to more information about the World Heritage listing. And that really is a masterclass in the ongoing importance of Frank Lloyd Wright, which is a story we all really want to tell. Definitely want to encourage anyone, again, if you have questions, to put them in the comments, and we'll ask them. But I think, I'd love to hear a little bit from all the sites about, what did you anticipate to be the impact or the significance of that listing? Obviously, we know that nothing quite went as planned in 2020. But what do you see as things start to bounce back? What are you hoping, either tangibly or intangibly, might be what's the word I'm looking for? Just sort of an impact from that inscription.
Eric, I'm happy to start for Falling Water's side of that story. I think our goal was the hopes of Falling Water's popularity on the international stage increasing in terms of tourism from worldwide coming to visit us here. We're in many ways a pilgrimage site for anyone. We're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, similar to Taliesin in Wisconsin. It's a bit of a drive to discover us. But pre-inscription on the World Heritage List, we were seeing about 5 or 6% of our visitation being from the international community. So kind of a big push for us was, getting Falling Water more recognized internationally, getting all of Wright's architecture recognized more internationally, and increasing that tourism to our region from that audience from around the globe. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and took the carpet out from under that dream. And so that'll be a main goal for us moving forward post-pandemic, is to make that push internationally again.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I think probably everyone was hoping that their sites would definitely have an uptick in visitation. And Justin, I agree, I think international would be a huge advantage to everybody. At Unity Temple, we are fortunate and unfortunate to be surrounded by so much great architecture, not only in Oak Park itself, but in Chicago. So my hope was that this would help Unity Temple to stand out even more than it would. And surprisingly, it's not necessarily one of the more popular sites that people have on their list to visit. I don't know why, so we're working on changing that. But again, we have a lot of competition, in Chicago, which is a great problem to have. So my hope is that this will really help us to stand out and help to put Unity Temple on a whole new level. And I think it will also help once we continue to educate people on the importance of World Heritage. And I know that's something we're all working on doing. Once that gets drilled into, I think, Americans' heads as much as as people understand it internationally, that will just raise all of the profiles of all the sites.
And Carrie or Hannah, is it a similar thought for your sites?
Very much so. I think, Heidi, you said it so well. When you think about World Heritage sites, there's so many more that are around the world than they are in this country. And I think by, Frank Lloyd Wright being one of the most known American architects, I think that just putting that on the map is an important step. And getting us in the United States to think about preservation and why these buildings matter, why these historic preservation is so important to our culture here in the United States. So yeah, it's going to be interesting once we get out of this pandemic and we're able to start really seeing the fruits of everybody's labor come to fruition after getting this inscription. So definitely hoping for recognition and more visitation for sure.
Yeah, so for Hollyhock House, we're kind of in a similar situation like with Unity Temple, like being in Chicago, we're here in Los Angeles. And so there's a lot of architectural competition here in LA. We actually had really good international visitation here at our site, but I think our local presence was really elevated because of where Hollyhock House is situated in Barnstable Park. We don't have very much street presence. So people can just drive by us their whole life and never know that we're up on this top of this olive hill. And so I think with UNESCO, it really helped elevate the profile for our local residents and really it being on their map of, oh, that's a place I didn't know there was a public Frank Lloyd Wright house that I could visit. Or, oh, I want to take my family there because my dad loves, architecture. And so I think that's really changed after the inscription is we had a huge boost of visitorship locally and definitely an increase international, but we always had a pretty good international visitation. So a little disappointing, obviously, with all the cultural institutions suffering from COVID-19 closure. So we're hoping to really, I think the UNESCO inscription will help us kind of stay at a good level once we reopen.
Well, so we had a question come in from Patrick Garrity asking a little more detail about how the specific sites were selected for inclusion. I know that's a little bit of a fraught topic, but Stuart, I think you may know our question asker.
I do know Patrick. Hey, bud. Hope you're doing well. When the process began, the group, which was people from the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy, as well as some experts in the field, they went back and they looked at work that had been done right after Frank Lloyd Wright died in 1959, where the American Institute of Architects convened a panel to assess which of Frank Lloyd Wright's buildings did they feel were the most important works that he created. And I want to say that was a group of, 30 or 40 buildings. And there was a reassessment that was done back by this group in the early 90s to narrow that down to a group that they felt had really survived the test of time as works that really reflected what Wright was trying to do with his concept of organic architecture that would in turn lead to the creation of modern architecture. That was narrowed down to a group of 20 buildings, and then for various technical reasons, it got narrowed down to a group of 10 buildings. The technical reasons, and I'm going to use one of my favorite Frank Lloyd Wright spaces, and one that I think many of us really love, which is the Darwin Martin House in Buffalo, New York. I don't think there's a person who's seen that place that doesn't think, wow, is that just literally a monumental achievement? But it couldn't be, for technical reasons, included on the World Heritage List because much of that building had been demolished over the years. It had fallen into disrepair and reconstructed. And one of the criteria for World Heritage inscription has to do with authenticity and integrity. And so if you're doing some type of reconstruction, you're automatically off the list. There are a couple of rare exceptions to that, but they weren't willing to make those rare exceptions for modern works. And so that took the Darwin Martin House off the list. There are a few more that we've actually proposed adding to the nomination at some point in the future, including works in Japan. And for that, we would have to get the Japanese government engaged, and those multinational nominations are really, the US only nomination was complex enough. The multinational would be a little bit crazy, but suffice it to say that we went through works that showed influence, as I mentioned before, demonstrated these qualities of integrity and authenticity that were important. And then there's a last factor, which has to do with what's called a buffer zone. The work can lose its capacity to be on the World Heritage List if it's been encroached upon by subsequent development that, to put it in plain terms, spoils the view. And we face this challenge right now. Hannah, I think you faced out at Hollyhock within the last few years, someone wanting to put a giant high-rise right opposite Barnstable Park, right in the view shed, sort of spoiling the view of the Hollywood Hills. So that important connection to nature would have been destroyed. And Heidi, you had the same thing with a high-rise nearby that would have taken that beautiful skylight that's behind you in the picture and shaded that. So this is something, and we face the same pressure at Taliesin West, where there's development coming right to the edge of our 500-acre desert preserve. So all of those factors got considered in what buildings would be nominated. And I think there's a misperception that this might somehow be a greatest hits. These are what we're calling Frank Lloyd Wright's greatest works. I sort of like Wright's own view. The greatest work was the one that was the next one to be created. And we view this inscription as celebrating the entire body of all of Frank Lloyd Wright's work, because it's his ideas, it's his principles that really got recognized for their contribution to the development of modern architecture. And those principles are being recognized and represented through this small group of 8 buildings that stand in for a whole career. So if there's a building that's not on the list, go visit that building and look at it anyway, because it is, while it's not physically on the list, it's represented there.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we've already used in discussions and advocacy for preserving other Wright design buildings. Look, this is the only modern American architect who is represented on this list, and that means a lot. So with these threats of development and encroachment and things, obviously, it's not a one and done where we've gotten these 8 properties on the World Heritage List and our work is complete. There is an ongoing effort to coordinate among all these sites and make sure to look after them. There's a World Heritage Council. Justin, I believe you're the chair of that council. Do you want to talk a little bit about sort of what that council does? And how it's helping to coordinate and realize these benefits?
Yeah, I mean, it serves as an outlet for the sites to get together to talk about common issues. Of course, during the pandemic, it served as a platform for us to really start navigating through all of those issues. Heidi, I think maybe even the virtual visits program might have emerged or partially emerged out of discussions that you had within that group initially. But it's also a valuable tool that we use for reporting as well. So we all hold each other accountable in terms of maintaining the authenticity and integrity of these sites. So we're constantly reporting out to one another about the preservation work that's going on each of our sites, and we bounce ideas off of one another to make sure we're all doing the right thing. So it's a big initiative right now too, is now that we're emerging from the pandemic, how can we regain the steam that we lost to get this nomination back out there in terms of the recognition that Wright deserves. So really promoting the benefits of inscription on the World Heritage Site for Wright's legacy.
And if I might add, part of what the council does is find opportunities for collaboration or partnership, or even just support of each other's sites. And that's something I'm hoping long-term we continue to do. So Wright Virtual Visits, even though it wasn't born out of that per se, it's been supported. And there's a lot of other ideas we have right in the works that we're hoping to pursue in the near future. But I think it's a great way to keep all these 8 sites connected.
It's definitely been a great asset to strengthen this community in this very strange year. I mean, I came into my position at the Conservancy the month before the pandemic started. And so to have this framework in place where we could continue to collaborate has been amazing. So I want to be mindful of time and give everybody an opportunity. Of course, as the world is starting to reopen, a lot of us have a lot of things happening suddenly where people can actually come visit or engage with us. So I want to give everybody who's here a chance to let people know what they've got coming up, either in person or online. I will start as the moderator's prerogative. The Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy, we actually have a virtual event for our members tonight. It's a virtual tour and book talk of the Meyer House in Monona, Iowa. It's an American system-built home, and there's a book that will be coming out in August after they get it off a container ship somewhere off the West Coast. Been delayed like everything else, but we're really excited about that. So if you're a member, that's a free event. You can join us. If you're not a member, I have it on good authority that we'll be putting the video up online on our website tomorrow. So you can still tune in after the fact. And then our big announcement, if you have somehow missed it in the last week, is that we are gathering for an in-person conference in Buffalo, New York this October. October 13th through 17th. They'll in fact be centered in part at the Martin House that Stuart mentioned. We're going to see all the buildings of that incredible estate and many other buildings in the Buffalo area as well. So I encourage you to go to the Conservancy's website, savewright.org, to learn more about any of this. So who's next?
I'll be happy to jump in. We have the official announcement next week, so stay tuned. But Taliesin West, we've been reopened since October 15th for tours. We have self-guided audio tours as well as our regular tours. And come right now if you like. What is the temperature, Jeff? I think it's about 115 degrees in Arizona. So it's a perfect time to get to for your baked goods. You could just bring the dough out and put it out there in the sun. But we are reopen and doing tours on the weekends. But we go back to our normal business hours beginning in September. And the announcement that will come next week is about the exhibition of the work of a major international artist, which will open in December. And it's the first time we've ever done an exhibition of this kind at Taliesin West. But you'll be able to see how another great American artist interprets our relationship with nature through design. And so check out our website, franklloydwright.org, or our social media, and the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation. And look out for the news, and you'll find out when tickets will go on sale and a whole lot of other information. So we're really excited about this. What a great way to really welcome back the public in what I hope will be the post-pandemic era.
But you're not going to tell us who it is, Stuart.
Can't, sworn secrecy until next week.
Okay.
I'm a tease. What can I say?
Well, I can give you a little bit on the falling water side of things. So we're open for house tours again. Through a lot of the pandemic, we kept the interior of the house closed, but the full experience is available again to visitors. We're starting to bring residencies back on site as well. So if you're an artist or designer or an architect and you're interested in an immersive experience on site here at Falling Water, this fall we'll have what we call Insight on site for designers. So architects and designers can come and and immerse in the experience of Falling Waters design. We also have some adult learning programs with the photographer Andrew Peelage, whose goal is to photograph all of the extant works of Frank Lloyd Wright. So he'll be on site doing photography workshops. And we're bringing music back to Falling Water too. So we have a nice concert in the living room this September. So I'm looking forward to music bringing Falling Water alive again. So just a few things that are on our horizon, and lots of online programs virtually. We do a monthly webinar. So check our website for that lineup as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to jump in. We are one of the sites who had planned on doing our big World Heritage plaque unveiling and celebration right after the pandemic hit. So we had to stall that. We have our plaque, we have our plans. We're now finally able to reschedule that, which will be on September the 25th. It'll be in the morning, actually. We're going to be doing a plaque unveiling at 10:30 in the morning, and then we will have some speakers, including Barb Gordon of the Conservancy, mostly just talking about a lot of what we talked about today, what was the process and what was so important about Unity Temple being part of a World Heritage Site. So that's on our website, and as soon as I can get to it next week, I'm going to be listing all of our year's worth of programs, which is about, I think, 15 programs that we have coming together, which is a lecture series, a dance series, and a chamber series in person. And some of that will be live streaming as well. And for anyone who's wondering, Unity Temple is yet to be open to the public. The congregation's not worshiping there yet. I believe they're planning on coming back in September as well. And tours are still not decided yet. So as soon as that information's out there, we'll let you know.
I guess I'll speak. Oh, sorry.
No,
Carrie,
go ahead, Hannah.
Okay, cool. So here at Hollyhock House, we are located inside Barnstall Park, which is open to the public. There's a really great lawn space outside that people come and picnic, and you will be able to see a lot of the exterior facades and some of the gardens. So Hollyhock House is not open yet for tours. We hope to know more and make an announcement sometime this year. We really are pushing to open, but there's just a lot going on in Los Angeles, so we're still on hold for the moment. But we do these mini virtual tours called In Focus live tours on Facebook Live on the first and third Fridays of the month, where we have one of all our volunteer docents share the space, and we usually highlight just one or two rooms and kind of give a little deep dive into that space. And part of Hollyhock this year is it's our 100th anniversary. It's our centennial. So it's been a little disappointing being closed, but we are, yeah, lower round of applause for Hollyhock. And we've done some virtual programming, and we're hoping to announce some things for the fall, including a virtual tour of Residence A, which was one of the original guest houses here on the property, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, that is currently under a major restoration. So it'll be a really great in progress event for everyone. So we hope you can join. And our website, hollyhockhouse.org, also has our virtual accessibility experience. So if you want to come to Hollyhock House 24/7 online, you can take a virtual tour there. So
Hannah, everybody likes a belated birthday party, and the gifts are usually better because the people feel guilty. So go for it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do that. Come to our 100th birthday, but so yeah, we're a little sad, but so happy to try to share Hollyhock in special ways as we can. So,
Carrie.
Great. So here at Taliesin in Spring Green, Wisconsin, we are open 7 days a week. This is our season. So people can come here, they can purchase tickets, taliesinpreservation.org. We also are doing our summer workshops for our adult programming. We've got youth camps. Our youth summer camps are starting to wrap up. We did do them virtually this year. because a lot of our planning happens during the off season, those winter months, and we weren't sure what was going to be happening. We are looking at bringing those youth kids back on site next year. So we're excited about that. We're open our cafe. We have food available for our visitors or for the public within our Frank Lloyd Wright Visitor Center. That's 7 days a week. And that food is prepared by our food artists and immersion students. They are on site. They've been with us at the end of April, and they'll stay through the end of our season at the end of October. And something that we also have done, we started it last year thinking about the pandemic and people wanting new and kind of COVID safe ways to be outside and be, in the open air. So we have a driftless landscape tour where we dive deep into the driftless area, the region, the history of how this land formed, and then also that talks about Wright and his influence that he learned from this, the natural environment. And then we also have family days once a month. We allow the site to be opened up, to be blended, chosen, extended families. We don't care. We want people to be able to come and really see the natural and the cultural and the built environments in a new and exciting way. So that's what we have going on this year.
Well, we've all had an interesting experience, but it's been great to work with you all, and I'm really appreciative that you could take the time to join for this live Wright virtual visit today. Also really grateful to everyone who has tuned in live and stuck with us. Wright Virtual Visits is going to take our second annual summer vacation next month. So there will not be an edition in August, but we will have some announcement and we'll be back in September. We're gonna try to keep this up because we think it's a really fun way to sort of bring unexpected sites together in new comparative perspectives. So that's something we want to keep going. So thank you all. And I think with that, we are gonna sign off.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.